my friends. It is Monday Morning Motivation once again. How's everybody doing this morning? Hope you guys are having a wonderful start to your week. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, I am Chris, better known as Chris Cooking Nashville on YouTube. And my beautiful wife, Ash Taylor, the country artist extraordinaire. Make sure you guys go to ashtaylor.com to see all of the things she is doing with country music. Also, if you don't know already, she is in the process of putting together a brand new podcast.
Yeah.
And we're getting ready to start filming, recording episodes of that. It's going to be a lot of fun. And it is over on Instagram right now. Her Instagram handle is at Ashfault, ASHPHALT, at Ashfault Podcast. So I actually put a post up on the YouTube channel and on my Facebook page today and my Instagram telling you guys to go over there. So make sure to go over and give her a follow on Instagram.
I did not know that. Thank you so much.
Yep. So you guys make sure to go follow her over on Instagram because we're going to do some cool stuff. And we have some fun guests lined up already. And we have a bunch of even really cooler guests we can't talk about that we're in the process of trying to get booked. It's going to be a big deal. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a hoot. I don't know if you guys know, we like to have fun. So, yeah. But you guys, comment down below. Thank you for that, babe. You're so sweet. You guys comment down below. Tell us what you're up to, how your week's going so far. I know we're just a few hours into our week, but I got some coffee right here. We have a different setup here today, this Monday.
Yeah.
My wonderful,
we're giving this a shot.
We're giving it a shot. My wonderful husband bought these reclining chairs. Now, we're not going to recline back. Well, maybe later. But we set the studio up a little different, and I have to say, it is very comfortable. I feel like I can sit in the super comfy chair and drink coffee. I love it.
Yeah.
It's a vibe.
Yeah, it's nice to have a comfortable chair. So
absolutely.
There we go.
Yeah. Do you want to say hey to some folks super quick?
We can say hey to a few people. We're going to jump into our subject matter at hand here pretty quickly, but we'll say hey to a few people before we get started.
Awesome.
And then talk about what we're chatting about today. If you are brand new, please say hello in the chat. Let us know you are here. Hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe, share, all of those fun things. It just tells YouTube that this is valuable information, which I think it's valuable information. So maybe you disagree, but if so, you can let us know that too.
Yeah, we'll still be friends. Don't care.
That's right.
Awesome. And if you are new here, we've been getting new people almost every week. Please don't be shy.
Yeah.
Please put your questions down below. Tell us where you're watching from, who you are. No need to be shy.
Yep.
So let's see here. We have Mr. Bry Fly Fisherman Dish in the house.
Hello, Brian.
He says, everyone have a great day. Remember, you are what you eat. Eat meat. Carrie's here.
Hey, Carrie.
The wonderful Miss Janelle.
Hello, Janelle.
Janelle says, good morning, everyone. Look at those vividly colored foods in the meal prep boxes. Where's the meat?
Yes.
Well, Janelle, I know you watch this channel a lot with Chris. He makes a lot of things that are meat that don't look like meat.
That's right.
Hang tight. Hang tight. And I see that Janelle says, please hit the like and subscribe buttons here. Let's talk about, real quick, babe, before you dive in, let's talk about our favorite chef competition.
Absolutely. So Janelle dropped this in there for you guys to let you know where the link is, but we are in the midst of the favorite chef competition. And so far, I am still first place in my group. We are down to the top 5 competition right now, I believe, in that group. So I think they bring it down to the top 5 and then probably the winner from each group, I would guess. I don't know exactly how many rounds there are, but they're in the top 5 right now, and then they're going to narrow it down, and then all of the winners of all the different groups get to go battle it out, I guess, from there. So
pretty awesome.
We are still in first place. We have never left first place in the group that I'm in, which is awesome, and all thanks to you guys. You can vote once every 24 hours for free. You don't have to do anything. You log into a Facebook account to prove you're a real human being and not a computer, and it lets you vote for free once every 24 hours. So make sure to set a reminder for yourselves. We would really appreciate that. And just go vote every 24 hours. You do not have to do any of the donation votes. You can, but I appreciate that, but I'm not asking anybody to go spend money. I'm just hoping that we have enough people because of the subscribers and just the Keto and Carnivore community as a whole that we can potentially win without having to spend money or any of the other kind of stuff, because the winner gets a feature in Taste of Home magazine. You get to cook with Carla Hall. Like, you get all of this kind of rubbing elbows with like Food Network level chefs. And I think it's incredible to imagine the idea of keto and carnivore and just being a proper human diet chef as I am, making that all the way to that level of mainstream media and being able to show the world we're not just some weird niche fad diet group cult that's crazy. Like, this is an actual real thing, and like, what an amazing way to reach millions of people.
Yeah.
And we're just doing everything we can trying to help. So if you guys wouldn't mind, set that reminder, go to that link, just bookmark that link, and every 24 hours just go vote and share it with anyone and everyone you know and say, hey, go vote for this guy. We're trying to get, you know, keto and carnivore and proper human diet foods and being a chef on a proper human diet sort of spectrum. We're trying to get that into the mainstream and get attention for this so we can save as many people as possible. So we appreciate all the votes, guys. It's an interesting thing to go through that competition, and you know, on top of it, the winner gets $25,000 prize, which I don't really care whether there's money in it or not. But if we do get that money, boy, it'd sure let us upgrade a bunch of stuff in the kitchen and filming and all that kind of stuff.
So we just put it right back into the channel.
Yeah, we just put it right back in and just start doing some amazing stuff for you guys with it. So that would be really, really cool as well. So there's a lot of good to happen if we get enough people to go vote and just show people in the mainstream media that we're here and we're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So that would be really cool. But yeah, so you guys make sure to use that link and just go vote every 24 hours. We would appreciate it.
Absolutely. And Sherry Nevada Pup is in the house.
Hi, Sherry.
She says, good morning. Well, I know my dogs will keep me safe. Woke up to my pups jumping on me. They never do that because the smoke alarm was beeping. No fire, just needed a battery.
Yeah, it sounds like a certain golden retriever I know who has been kicked out of the room today because the cord's going across the floor. I told Ash I could imagine her getting tangled, panicking, and causing about 10 grand worth of damage to the computer and the lighting and the big monitor and all the other things that are all plugged in together to each other right now.
Yep.
So.
Only because she's very calm. She just has a big butt, and she likes to climb in laps. So
she's very calm until she gets caught in something, and then she panics and tries to run.
Yeah. This is a name I've never seen before. Average Keto Carnivore-ish guy.
Well, hello.
Says good morning. Good morning to you, my friend.
Yeah, good to see you, my friend.
And then Mr. Jeffrey Cox is in the house.
Hey, Jeff, what's going on?
He says, morning all, don't ever meal prep for me, but if I cook burgers, bacon, carnivore bread, etc. ahead of time, the wifey's carbs lowers dramatically. Path of least resistance, so tuning in.
Love it. Love it.
Well, with that being said, why don't we dive into our subject for today?
Yeah, let's go ahead and dive in.
Yeah.
Well, so the title of this, if you guys saw, which I assume you did because you clicked on this video, says Master the Meal Prep Mindset. So what is this whole thing of a meal prep mindset? Because it goes far beyond just meal prepping. Everybody kind of gets like, okay, well, what is meal prepping, right? Putting portioned food together ahead of time and just pulling it out of the fridge, pulling it out of the freezer, whatever, and having dinner kind of ready to go like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. And every now and then we do some sort of meal prep type stuff. I generally cook everything as fresh as possible, so I don't meal prep a lot, but there are times when we just don't have time to cook everything fresh, and pre-packaged stuff is just full of junk. So if you make your own and you meal prep, that's a really good way to set yourself up for success. But it's not just about the food. There is a mindset that goes along with this concept, and that's what we're talking about, is this meal prep mindset and the way that this can be a better habit that helps you just take control of your health journey. So let's talk about what is a meal prep mindset, and then what are some ways that we can actually put it to good use. So the meal prep mindset is this idea that if you set yourself up for success when a later date is going to arise, when you would use whatever the things are you are preparing to tackle, then whatever resources you have set up will be there to help you be more successful in that moment. One of the biggest falling down, tripping you up kind of circumstances that I see, not just for, people in the community that come and talk to us and ask us questions, but even for our own selves, is you make a commitment with the today you, And then the tomorrow you arrives at the point when it's supposed to be time for you to follow through on that commitment, and suddenly your energy or your resources or your schedule or your logistical issues or your family or something else starts getting in the way of you following through. So you can wish for all of these great things, health and weight loss and metabolic healing and dealing with all of these different issues, whatever. You can wish for that today all you want. But if you do not set yourself up to succeed at it tomorrow and the next day and the next day, when the tomorrows and the next days and the next days all arrive, you now have a bigger job of trying to overcome those challenges so that you can do what's best for you. That can be very difficult. So the meal prep mindset is, and it doesn't have to be every single thing in your life and every single day. Like, these are small things that you can prep for. And meal prep, specifically food, meal prep is a good place to start. So, okay, maybe you don't meal prep 6 days of your week, right? And because you're cooking one day and then you're supposed to have 6 other days worth of stuff. You can totally do that. That's a lot of cooking in a single day. And if you don't have a lot of time to do that all ahead of time, if you don't organize all of that right, that can be very challenging. That can be a lot. You can do it, but it's a lot sometimes, especially if you're just starting out. If you've done this for a while, you've built that habit in, it's maybe a little bit easier to keep up with, but that can be a lot. So if you say, okay, well, I don't know if I can do 6 days worth of meal prep once a week. All right, can you do 1 or 2 days worth of meal prep? Can you take some ingredients and put together some very simple to throw together meals that all you have to do is pull it out of the fridge, heat it up, or pull it out of the fridge, throw it in a skillet, cook it for 5 minutes, like whatever way it is that makes it easy for you. Can you set yourself up for just a couple of days a week to have that? Because that small amount, that doesn't seem like it's that much, but that small amount of preparation, 2 or 3 days, gives you a little bit of that breath of fresh air. It gives you a little bit of the ability to recover so that you're not trying to do everything on the fly with super high stress every single time. And then, if you find yourself with some extra time one night, okay, well, maybe you go ahead and cook everything from scratch that night. But then, let's say you go to work, you've got a long day, you got to stay at work late, the kids have to be picked up from school, and you didn't realize it was going to take as long as it did, you get stuck in traffic, you've had an exceptional amount of yard work to do. I mean, I don't know, throw in 100 different reasons why something beyond your control pops into your day that you didn't plan for. That's when you go to the fridge and you pull out one of those couple days of meal prep that you had, and you go, all right, tonight we're throwing this thing in the oven, and I'm going to go get some other stuff done, and we all eat it. Now, the problem is that convenience is very helpful, and mega food corporations know that that's really the way people need some help in their life, so they have monetized that by making pre-packaged, junky, carbohydrate, chemical-laden, food-adjacent things that will ruin your health and cause an addiction. And they charge you very little money for what it is, comparatively, because it's filled with cheap junk, and then they promote this as being a good thing for you. And so what happens? People start doing it night after night after night, and rather than doing the work to make sure they have good things ready to go for themselves and for their own health, they just buy whatever's on the grocery store shelf that's easy, and then they make their entire lifestyle about the convenience and the addictive foods. We're trying to get away from that. So you do have to do a little bit of this work on the front end, but you do it when you have the time. And then when you don't have the time, you benefit from that work that you did with the yesterday you that had the energy and the time, so the today you can still stick to those commitments that you've made. Now, this goes far beyond just food when we talk about a meal prep mindset. So something that I've been trying to figure out how to do is incorporate some more physical movement into my day, into my life, into just what we do. And saying, oh yeah, we're going to go on a walk every single day, or we're going to do this, or I'm going to do that. Oh, that's fantastic. A lot of times that ends up not happening. You just don't think about it. you don't feel like it, you have 100 other things come up. There's so many reasons that some logistical issue gets in the way and you don't have the ability to do what you said you were going to do. So rather than that, I try to do that when I can, and some days it's great. We take the dog for a walk and we do whatever it is we need to do. Some days I don't have the energy, the time, the flexibility, whatever, to do that. So something that I've done is I've incorporated into my day. I'm in the process of building the habit, and so I'm still forgetting occasionally, but I'm trying to remember to do this. Every time I go to eat something, I have to do 10 squats before I do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it does two things. One, it incorporates just organically some physical movement, large muscle group movement into my day, which is good for me. But the other thing that it does is it's also making me stop and think, I want to eat this food. Am I actually hungry to where I'm willing to say, yeah, I can do 10 squats because I want to do this? Or am I like, doing the 10 squats right now, it just seems like a big commitment for food that I don't really even know if I want. So it's not that it prevents me from eating when I'm really hungry, or that it makes me somehow not want to go ahead and eat because, Lord forbid, I do 10 squats. It's not that, but because it's an action that happens before I do the eating of the food, it makes me stop and think, are you hungry or are you bored? Because that's a real thing. And even doing carnivore, there are still times that I just would like to sit and eat something when I'm not even hungry, just because I want the pleasure of flavor in my mouth, right? And it's something that I come from a background of food addiction and binge eating and eating my emotions and eating when I'm bored and eating, to self-medicate, all these things. And I don't really struggle with any of that anymore. But I do still have a tendency, because it's just a habit that is built in, to think, oh, it's been a long time since I've eaten, and I'm kind of sitting here and my mind is maybe going through all these different things, but I kind of want to munch on something or chew on something or, taste something while I'm doing this. And it's like, but do I really want that? Or is it just a habit that's creeping back up? So if it's a habit that's creeping back up, well, I need to stop that. Not because it's like, wrecking my life or anything, but I need to rethink how my food relationships work. I want to redo these habits that I have, and that's hard to change your habitual nature. It's very difficult to change your habits, and they take time and intentional effort to reprogram. So using this meal prep mindset concept, set yourself up with patterns and set yourself up with predetermined things that when you arrive at the tomorrow you that's trying to follow through on the commitments that yesterday you made, those things are there for you to be able to lean on so that you can not feel like you're just having to fight against everything. Maybe that's a meal prep.
All right. Can you guys hear us now?
Try that again. Here,
Can you hear us? Can you hear us?
Audio. So it's using the iPhone.
Yeti.
There we go. All right, guys. We should be back.
We're back. Janelle says you're back.
Okay.
All right, cool. Don't know what happened there, but...
All right, so we need to upgrade our mic one of these days because it does that from time to time.
Yeah, just quit.
Yeah, so you could do like I'm doing and add these squats in before you before you start eating. It could be a food thing that you're doing, like meal prep in your fridge. It could be, there's a lot of different things that you can use this sort of meal prep mindset for. But the idea that you have some things in place so that you can do whatever it takes in those moments where maybe it's hard for the tomorrow you to follow through on the commitments of the yesterday you. It's a lot sometimes to follow through on what we said we're going to do, because usually when you say, I'm going to change my life, I'm going to change my health, I'm going to start a business, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, right? We have all of these things we say we're going to do. And why do so many of us fail at so many of them and never follow through? Because we make those commitments when we feel good. We make those commitments when everything is ideal. Or we make those commitments when we have a lot of resolve because maybe we're struggling, and that struggle is making us so exhausted and frustrated that we're willing to commit to something that's on the other side of feeling that way, and we're like, oh, I'm going to do this amazing thing because I'm tired of being this way. Whatever. We're in a mindset at the moment where we can do that. But then we get around to the moment of actually making those decisions, and it's a lot easier to just do the easy stuff that we're used to already doing rather than changing and doing what we should be doing instead.
Yeah.
It's very hard in those moments sometimes to force yourself to push through. And so anything you can do that are little things that sets you up to be successful later down the road when you do not have the same resolve and the same energy as when you make the decision to do those things, that can be really helpful. And that's the meal prep mindset, is being able to think, okay, when I don't have the energy and the resolve and the feeling of commitment and the in the moment memory of how bad what this other thing is that I've been doing truly is, what can I do to make it easier to make the right decision in the future? When that's not an easy thing. And honestly, I think one of the biggest mistakes people make, and I think all of you are guilty of this because I am guilty of this, Ash is guilty of this, everyone is guilty of this. We think how we feel now when we make the commitment is how we're going to feel when it comes time to follow through. But guess what? You're not going to. Not all the time. Sometimes you will. Not all the time. You're going to have bad days. You're going to have difficult moments. You're going to have busy times. It's, I find it interesting. Sometimes I get messages from people who say, hey, I need simple recipes. I'm really busy. And I totally understand what they're saying. We all need simple things that help us when we're busy. But it's interesting when you get the message of I'm busy. It almost comes across as if people think they're the only ones who are busy. Everyone is busy. I'm busy, Ash is busy, you are busy. The difference is, are you going to use that as an opportunity to find solutions, or are you going to use it as an excuse because you can't do things because you're busy and you think you're the only one? Every single person out there who is successful, whether it's a business, their health journey, any of these kinds of things, they're all busy. They were all busy before they got healthy, before they started their business, before they did whatever. They're all busy after they've done all of that things. They're all busy. We are all busy. Being busy is not an excuse that somehow means our life is different than someone else's. Everyone is busy, and busy looks like a different thing for each person. So rather than us focusing on being busy, let's focus on what are the solutions that we can use this meal prep mindset to come up with for our life. Because I think this is the thing that maybe people that struggle with this don't understand. The solutions and things that apply to your life are not going to be the same as the solutions and things that apply to mine. And that's why we each as individuals have to take the responsibility to go out, do the research, come up with the solutions, think through our own lives and our own problems so we can decide how we're going to apply this concept in a way that makes the difference for us. You know, it's the same thing. So I have people that ask me the question every once in a while, Chris, why aren't there macros on your recipes? I never print macros on any of my recipes. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, I don't count macros. I try to track my carbs, my carb intake loosely. I just kind of have a general sense of, you know, roughly where I'm at because I've been doing this long enough now. I want to make sure my carbs don't get too high. But for the most part, I really focus more on ingredient choice and things that make me feel good or make me not feel good way more than I do on macros. So for me, there was never a reason to really track macros once I went carnivore. The other reason, though, that I don't print macros on any of my recipes is because, first of all, there's a 20% error that's allowed by law on any food packaging. So you can be up to 20% off in any of those macros that are on that food packaging. So it's really not very helpful to look at the packaging anyway. The next thing is me communicating to someone else around the world what a serving of a recipe looks like is a very difficult thing to do. I also can't guarantee how much somebody is eating comparatively to my serving. So if I say a macro and then you know, it has this many carbs, this much fat, this much protein, whatever, and then they eat the whole recipe and I meant that as a single serving, well, now their understanding of the macros of a recipe are completely different than mine. So it's very difficult to communicate for people across the internet. The other thing is that if you buy different brands of things, or if you make adjustments to the recipe, or if you don't measure it properly, or you don't do any of these things, I have no way of knowing what your macros of your personal recipe are like as compared to what my macros in my recipe were like. So there's a lot of places that this can get very out of hand, where people can be eating double the amount or half the amount or whatever of something as what they think they're getting if they just look at my macros. So I don't put macros on there. What I instead recommend everybody do is buy a kitchen scale. When you make a recipe, weigh every single ingredient you put into that recipe so you know what the total is for that recipe, and then decide how many servings you personally want to divide it into. And I tell people this all the time, if it matters enough that you want to track your macros, it should matter enough that you weigh everything so you can get the closest estimate possible. And it's still just that. It is an estimate. It is never going to be accurate. It's impossible. It is, in the universe we occupy, impossible for it to be fully accurate. It's just the way food is. And here's the deal. No animal on the planet counts macros or measures its food. It eats the things that are appropriate for its diet. It eats till it's full, and then it goes out and is active. That's what all animals do. So the fact that we get so hyperfixated on macros is kind of an interesting thing. But when it comes to this meal prep mindset, this is the same thing. If you're trying to commit to counting your macros, and that's important for you, doesn't matter for me, if that's something that matters to you, you have to take that responsibility of, I'm going to count them by weighing every single thing I get and every single ingredient I'm buying, looking at the brand, etc., etc. Because if it matters enough to do it, it matters enough for it to be as close to accurate as it possibly can. And that's something no one else can do for you. You have to do it for yourself.
Yeah.
So it's really important that you have this mindset of, what are the things I can do ahead of time to set myself up. So maybe that's, I'm tracking macros. Great. Pick the recipes you want to use. Look up the brands you would buy. Get all of that calculated out and list that out by recipe that you have personally calculated. And then hang that somewhere so you know, if you're tracking your macros, which ones am I picking, which ones am I going to get and why, etc. And you can set yourself up. So that's just one way of applying this meal prep mindset to a really random thing of tracking macros, but just kind of occurred to me because I get that question from time to time. So there are a lot of ways you can apply this to a lot of areas of your life. So if you guys have something that you are trying to do in your life, yeah, thumbs up. If you have something you're trying to do in your life that you think the meal prep mindset would work towards, whether it's actually meal prepping food or whether it's something else that you can take this mindset and set yourself up for success. If if you have something in your life that is coming to your mind of, I could use meal prep mindset in tackling this particular thing, put it in the chat. Let us know what kinds of things you're trying to track, what kinds of things you're trying to take care of, what you could meal prep mindset for yourself. If you already have the solution, go ahead and put that in there. I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
If you don't have the solution, but you know the problem, put it in the chat, and maybe somebody else here has a great idea. They can come up with a good solution, and we can all work together as a community to help each other be better with a meal prep mindset. So, do you have any thoughts on meal prep mindset or any ideas about how we can do this, or if anyone else can do it?
I definitely want to get into the comments because I think there's a lot of cool stuff going on in there. But just really quick, yes, I agree with everything you're saying. I think sometimes we focus so much on, which is good, but what it is that we put basically into our bodies, right? But like, you don't make your recipes every single day. You can't, right? It's like, so like, but I think it depends on where you're at in the journey. So I think depending on where you're at in your health journey, but I think organization. I wish people talked more in the space about organization and having this meal prep mindset, whether it's meal prepping, whether it's movement, whether it's whatever. And it's like, we all know that we should be eating our meat. We all know that we should be moving more. Like, we all know this. But if you don't actually schedule it and put it into a routine and make it obtainable, well, then that gets kind of tricky. Because I can sit here in this chair right now and say, man, I'm going to work out every day this week. Well, this chair is pretty darn comfy. So, but if I know that I have it scheduled in my calendar, okay, so on Mondays, on Wednesdays, and on Fridays, I'm going to go spend 15 minutes on the exercise bike.
Right.
I have an Apple Watch that I wear usually most days that buzzes, and it tells me, hey, it's time that you said you were going to do, this thing. So then I'm like, oh, right. So maybe finding things like that. I mean, a lot of people have Apple Watches, calendars, whatever, but just being intentional. Or looking at the night of the week, like we always film your recipe videos, for example, on a Monday. Right? So whatever we film on a Monday for, your Saturday recipe video is what we eat for dinner. So we plan that ahead. We get the groceries, we do the work, we film the video, and then we sit and we eat dinner. On Tuesdays, in case you don't know, Tuesday nights at 6 p.m. Central, Chris does a cooking live stream where he literally cooks our dinner live in front of you guys, and we take questions and hang out. I know that whatever he makes that night for that live stream is what we're having for dinner. The other nights of the week, we look ahead. Sometimes we may have family over. So maybe we do a more elaborate meal. Even if it's keto carnivore, maybe Chris is like, we're having friends or family over. I'm gonna spend some extra time in the kitchen and do, biscuits and chili and all that kind of stuff. The other nights of the week, though, we're busy, just like everybody else. So Chris makes burger patties, for example, and he pre-portions them out, and they're in the freezer most nights.
I should maybe do a Tuesday night live sometime where instead of cooking, I mean, I could cook some that I already have made for you guys, but maybe I could show you how I portion out ground beef to turn it into patties that are in the freezer that are ready to just come out and go in the air fryer. Because it's like I have one big prep day where I'll put 10, even 20 pounds of ground beef patties into the freezer. And when we're busy, she's like, hey, what was your plan for dinner tonight? And I'm like, beef patties? And she goes, yeah, great.
We also bought this, actually my mom bought it for us, but we actually have a container too that is like a stackable, snaps together container that Chris will actually make a couple dozen deviled eggs, puts it in the container and snaps it. So, but that's a lot of the nights we're literally doing something very simple. Like last night we had a big just salmon. That was it. It was super easy. So, but that's all just part of it. So what I'm saying though is if you guys have burger patties in your freezer, maybe you have some deviled eggs in a container that you can just eat real quick. But knowing throughout the week what it is you're going to make, it also makes it harder for you to go off plan and off track because you've already bought the food, you already basically have it prepped, and you write it out and it's Monday night. Chris is going to film the video, and we're going to eat whatever that is.
Right.
Oh, it's Wednesday. Okay, we're going to do burger patties and eggs and maybe some bacon. But just ways though, I think just to think ahead and be intentional and just kind of make things obtainable. But This is why we're also big fans of not putting too much on your plate and just making small changes. But yeah, so that's that. But you wanna dive on into the comments here?
I would love to. Let's see what we got going on.
I like it. Jeffrey Cox says this weekend was 3 pounds of smash burgers, 5 pounds of bacon, and 2 fillets.
Excellent.
Love it. Janelle says, I like the new like and subscribe banner.
Ah, well, thank you kindly.
Thank you. Peggy says, good morning.
Good morning, Peggy.
Claire says, good morning, all, or good afternoon. It's 4 p.m. here.
Yes.
Watching on both channels on the TV and commenting on the other on my phone.
Well, thank you so much, Claire. We appreciate you being here.
Yeah. Holly Springer says, morning, friends.
Hello, Holly.
Stephen Stone says, good morning, you beautiful people.
Hey, Stephen. How are you, brother?
John Y says, what's up, meaty people?
What's up, John?
I like that, John. That's cute. Barry Weems is here.
Brother Barry.
Brother Barry, our man. He says, good morning. Hope y'all have a blessed day and week. This is a new name, I believe. Mary at Greek Carnivore.
Well, hello.
Says good morning. Another new name that I don't recognize is Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer.
She says good morning, everyone.
Good to see you.
Thank you for being here. Air Frying Auntie is in the house.
Hi, Auntie.
She says good morning, Ash and Chris. Addicted to Antlers is here.
Hello, Addicted to Antlers.
Another new name, Heidi, is here.
Hi, Heidi. How are you?
She says good morning.
Thank you for tuning in.
Our other good friend, Mr. Cranky Carnivore Cutler.
Hey, John. What's up?
He says, hey. Caleb's Carnivore Quest is here.
What's up, Caleb, buddy?
Yeah, and this is awesome. Heidi says, yep, brand new from up here in Minnesota.
Oh, well, that's super cool, Heidi. We're really glad you're here.
And today is day 22 on Carnivore.
Awesome. Good
That's
for
cool.
you, Heidi. That's fantastic. Rock on.
Yes, awesome, Heidi. So glad you're here. Thank you.
Everybody rock on for Heidi in the comments. Give her some love and encouragement since she is brand new to this and working hard at it.
Yes, absolutely. Cheryl is here. Says,
hi,
good morning.
Cheryl.
This is awesome. Another new name. Lori Mitchell says 7 months carnivore from Kansas.
That's awesome. Hello, Lori. We're really glad that you're here, and congrats on 7 months carnivore.
That's a big accomplishment.
It is.
Really cool. Mr. Dustin at Keto Simple is here.
The beard is in the house. We've got a Keto Crusade coming up on the 4th.
Yep.
With myself, Mr. Dustin at Keto Simple, and Victor from Southern Keto. So if you guys don't know, Dustin and Victor and I, we all three have kind of some different approaches and perspectives to a proper human diet, but the overarching approach we have is very much the same, and we all believe that as a community we should be working together to find good common ground and just working to learn and improve what we do more and more. And so the three of us do a live stream once a month called Keto Crusade, and we just try to bring the community together and show how we can be supportive and how we can work together to make this as impactful for as many people around the world as possible, and how we don't have to argue over our differences. We can use them to learn from each other. So would love for you guys to tune in. That is May 4th. That is at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, so 8 p.m. Eastern, and that'll be on all three of our channels. So make sure to pop in and say hello.
Yeah, I love the work these boys do. They're awesome. Kind of random, but Dustin wants to know, did y'all rearrange the room to get rid of the futon? Dustin, we buried that baby.
Yep. Futon is gone.
It's gone. It's gone. These chairs are replacing it, and my butt is appreciative.
Yes.
Okay. Average keto carnivore-ish guy. I love carnivore-ish.
Carnivore-ish, I like that.
I love that. He says, I am going on almost a month of carnivore, still staying strong.
That's fantastic. Woo-hoo. Good for you.
That's awesome, man. We're so glad you're here. Thank you.
Rock on to you as well.
Yes. Auntie says, I need to do some prep. So busy packing, stressing. I am not feeling the cooking thing lately. Auntie.
I understand, Auntie.
We do. We totally get it.
I totally get it.
But, this is, I think, a great example of you just got to do the best you can.
Yeah.
So maybe you don't cook. Maybe you go through McDonald's or Wendy's and you get some
those
burger patties.
Yep.
Maybe that's what you do while you're just
Auntie
getting
has
through
the
this.
option of getting in and out. So
Auntie?
Yeah. Get
Go
those
get
in
you
and
some
out burger
In-N-Out.
patties.
Yes. And this is a really good point. Janelle says, since I eat mostly meat, I just cook extra to have leftovers.
Yeah, it's a great way to do it.
Easy way to meal prep right there. John Wise says, I suck at meal prep. My version of meal prep is making sure I have all the ingredients to what I want, to make what I want.
That's great.
Yeah, I mean, if that works for you, man, heck yeah. Cookie Carter is here.
Hello, Cookie.
She says, hello from Barbados. Nice to be on your live again.
Yes, good to see you.
Yes. And Auntie has a great question.
Yeah.
I think one of my biggest holdups for meal prep is how to reheat it so it's as good as just cooked. Make sense?
Yes, it does make sense. So this is one of the things, I get comments constantly, people asking, can this be kept in the fridge? Can it be frozen? Can it be reheated? All this kind of stuff on my recipes. And I totally get why, because we're talking about this whole meal prep thing today. I get it. There are very few foods in this world that are even close to as good heated up as they are when they're made fresh.
True.
That is just the nature of food. And part of this goes back to the fact that this confusion, this sort of thing going on in our brains, is because we live in a society now where food is supposed to be instantly available to you. I had a discussion with someone on a Facebook post about this, and I was like, we live in a society where now we think food is supposed to be just instantly ready to go. And we've been trained to believe a really big fat lie that is just ruining the lives of billions of people. Food takes work. It just does. So reheating already cooked food is trying to put a stopgap measure in place so that we can cook it when we have time and have it later, which is cool. It just does not turn out as good. It never is going to. Now, there are a few exceptions, I would say, where you can reheat something and it's as good or better, but very rarely is there any such thing as food that is as good or better reheated than it was fresh.
Yeah. I would like to add, if I can, as someone who does not cook, I just observe, guys. That's my job. But one thing, though, is if you go watch a lot of Chris's Tuesday night lives, the Backstage with Chris, I know that I would say probably at least 8 out of 10 of those live streams, like a very big portion of them, is food where Chris will film a recipe, or he'll make something for us for dinner one night. And kind of like what Janelle was saying, he makes just extra. Like, we just already know we have extra.
Yeah.
Then what he does, though, is he reheats that food.
Yep.
And finds a new way to use it to where it does taste good heated up.
So I upcycle it.
Yeah, you upcycle it. So I know, for example, tomorrow night, we'll talk about that later.
Yep.
But tomorrow night, we already have actually food already made and prepped that's been in our refrigerator for a few days.
Yep.
So that when he goes live, he can just pull it out and do his thing. So, but that would probably be a great idea to get some ideas on how to. The other thing is, I know when I make Mel's puppy food, because I make it for the whole week in a big, like a big pot, and then it goes into the fridge. I actually undercook her meat a little bit, because I know that I'm going to have to warm it back up when I feed it to her. So, some ideas.
There's different things you can do, but I think it's so hard because we have been told food should be amazing and instantly ready. Well, the only food that is that way is stuff that is pumped full of sugar and chemicals and starch and all these things that, quite honestly, it wasn't real in the first place, so it's definitely not going to have to taste real in the second place, right? This is why cereal that comes out of a box for months and months and months that it's been sitting there, or food like candies that are packaged and sit on the shelf forever, or God bless it, those packaged Dinty Moore type meals that have meat that are shelf stable, that sit there, and it's there's meat and cheese and things in these packaged foods, and they sit at room temperature for months. That's a lot to imagine what has been done to that food. So if you look at those kinds of things and you realize that they're doing horrible things to that to make that what it is, that's the only reason that stuff tastes good. But we've been told that's what food should be. And this discussion that I had on Facebook with someone, they were talking about how the recipes aren't worth the effort. And I was like, I get your point, but I was like, have you ever considered how much work goes into raising, butchering, processing, and storing ground beef? Mm-hmm. If you think about, we just think ground beef is you go to the store, pick it up, and cook it. But the thing is, someone else has already done all the hard work. Mm-hmm. I mean, ask a cattle rancher how easy it is to raise cattle.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a full-time lifestyle type job. It's hard to do that stuff. And it takes months, and it takes so much work to butcher and process a cow. Mm-hmm. That is massive work. And then you have to figure out how to store all of that. Food just takes so much effort, and it's such a pain. And so when we come across like, how do I reheat this to make it taste good? We're fighting a losing battle, truthfully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it just needs to be up to each person, though. You know how, like, because some people, it depends on where you're at, too, like, in your journey. It depends on what you like, what you do, your lifestyle. There's a lot of variables. So, I mean, I love our community because I feel like we're very well versed and we have a lot of people from different walks of life. I mean, we have somebody like Rick who's been carnivore since, I believe, like the 1980s.
Yeah.
And so it's like, Rick doesn't make recipes and that's totally okay. And we still love him anyway. There's people here that, won't eat red meat. They just can't. They're working on it, but they're not quite there.
Yeah.
It's like, that's all good. So you just have to figure out what works for you, much like an N=1 experiment.
Absolutely.
So, and I think it's just for each person to decide. And truthfully, let me just say this, and we need to move on because there's lots of cool things happening in the comments.
Yeah.
But I personally, if someone never makes one of Chris's recipes, I don't care.
Yeah, it's fine.
Like, if you don't need that, like, if you're not in the position where you're like, man, whatever. But these are tools, right, that Chris creates if you want to go be vibrant in the kitchen. Go make one of his recipes. Great. Awesome. Cool. Is it as simple as grilling a steak? No, it's not. But it's a taste and it's an experience. If you have people, let's say like a child with autism, or you have grandkids, it's like, if you're not going to make the cereal, great. If you don't need that, I'm happy for you. I genuinely am. Good for you. That's good. If your grandchild or like the autistic kid who is so into texture, if you're trying to get them to better their diet, it's a tool in which has now been created into the world to help people. So as long as you're helping people, you do you let them do them, everybody gets along, ain't no fighting, ain't no nothing.
Yeah.
Use the tools, and if you don't need them, then that's totally okay. Just don't make them.
And in response to Auntie's thing there of like the biggest holdup being, the quality of food that's reheated, the hardest thing to reheat and have it actually still taste good is meat.
That is true.
It is very difficult because by the time you reheat it, it's overcooking, it's dry, it's tasting old, all that kind of stuff. So if you can figure out ways to have the meat part of whatever you're having be cooked as easily, quickly, and freshly as possible, but then maybe try to reheat the other portions of things, Auntie, that will help you significantly, I think.
I think so too.
So maybe meal prep anything that's not the meat portion, whatever you're doing there, and then just make the meat itself the only thing you have to cook. That helps a lot.
Oh yeah, that's
that
good.
helps a lot.
And this is a great example. These two comments real quick. So Diana 247, who I believe is also new, I haven't seen that name before, says, I don't enjoy meal prep, but when I do it, I do a lot better at keeping my carbs in range. I get bored with the same meals more than 2 days in a row. But I mean, great example though, if you meal prep, kind of maybe easier to hit goals, like if you're trying to count carbs, keep in range, it's great. And then Brother Barry, I mean, this is so simple, but really good point. Barry says, I meal prep every week by cooking 3 pounds of ground beef every 3 days.
There you go.
Super smart.
Pound a day. It's good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Dan B in VA in Virginia says, good morning, first time watcher.
Well, good morning, Dan. We're really glad you're here, my friend.
Yes, thank you for being here. Eve Rising says, good morning.
Good morning, Eve.
The beautiful Miss Lynette is
here.
Hello,
Lynette, our beautiful friend.
That is my beautiful friend. Hope you're well. DJ Magic Man is in the house.
What's up, Matt?
Yeah. Eve has a good question.
Yeah.
Says, I hate the mouthful of ground beef, finding it hard to pay for steak constantly. I tried cheaper cuts and tenderized the heck out of it, but still tough. Ideas.
Yeah, so Eve, there's a few things you can do here. If you don't like the mouthfeel of ground beef, is it the grainy texture of ground beef? Because if that's the case, you can do something like make the meatball mixture that I have, which actually blends it up smoother. You could make it like the Euro meat mixture that I have. I have recipe videos for both of these. That makes it smoother so that you don't get that graininess of the meat. If that still is off-putting to you, still that grainy, even the smoothed out sort of almost pate-like texture, if that still doesn't work for you, then yes, the cheaper cuts that are tenderized is a great way to go. So it depends on what kind of cheaper cuts you're talking about, because some work really well for eating as meat, and some are much better either ground up or like shaved or any of these kinds of things. So it really depends on which cut you're talking about. For example, top round, bottom round, eye round, like all of those kinds of things. They have great beefy flavor, but they're like chewing shoe leather. And if you try to cook them in any way that makes them tender, it's not going to happen. Those are used oftentimes for like roast beef where it's been cured or salted and slow cooked all the way through, and then they slice it super, super thin, so the fact that it's tough doesn't matter. The other thing you can do with those is make jerky where it's supposed to be dry and chewy. So those are the kinds of things you do with that. Now, if you're looking for a cheaper cut, but you don't necessarily want that kind of stuff, you can look for things like chuck roast that are on sale. You can slow cook chuck roast and make it shred. You can thin slice chuck roast and make it almost like a shaved beef. Check out our live stream. Not our live stream, our recipe video that we'll be filming today that's coming out Saturday. I'm going to use a chuck roast that has been shaved, and in the future I'll be showing you guys how I do it. But you can shave it. You can take chuck roast and you can actually cut it into chuck steaks. Now, they can be a little tough, but if you dry brine it, first of all, which is salting it, I've got a video on how to dry brine steaks on the channel, but you salt it and you let it sit uncovered on a rack in the refrigerator so you get air circulation. That salt goes all the way through, and the sodium actually changes the protein structure a little bit, so it tenderizes it, it cooks, it holds more moisture, it's better. So you can do that with chuck steaks. Also, you can do things like sous vide. If you've never looked into cooking sous vide, you should definitely do it, because you can take a chuck roast, I dry brine it, I put it in a sous vide for about 24 hours, and it just holds it at a temperature perfectly cooked, but it doesn't overcook, it just stays at the temperature, but the proteins break down. And so over time, it tenderizes all of those proteins, and when it comes out within like 12 to 24 hours later, it's like a poor man version of prime rib, and you can like you sear it on the outside just real quick just to brown it. That's it. You don't cook it anymore. You just sear it on the outside or use a torch like I do, and then you slice it, and it's like a sliced prime rib. So
it's good too.
You know, there's different ways of doing it, but it's all depending on specifically which cut you're trying to work with and what that cut will let you do.
I love that. I love that. Great question. Icefire352. I believe
Hello.
This is another new friend.
Yes, good to see you.
Says greetings and good morning, y'all. I also love Mr. John Wise, this comment. He says, me no trace of the macros, best part of eating this way.
Yes.
Awesome. And then Cranky Carnivore Cutler has a great question as well.
Yeah.
What are the 5 ingredients I should keep on hand to make the most variety of your recipes?
Good question. So meat and eggs notwithstanding, because I think meat and eggs we can all, go to the store and just grab and buy. Meat and eggs notwithstanding, you're looking at probably egg white powder, gelatin. Those are going to be the 2 most consistent. I would say lately it's been whey protein and butter powder and probably baking soda. If you have those 5, you can do most of the things that I'm doing. I would say those things, and then whatever meat and eggs that recipe is made with generally. It's, or dairy like that. Like the refrigerator stuff is its own thing, but as far as like things to have on hand that sit in your pantry that are ready for you to go, egg white powder, beef gelatin, or any unflavored gelatin that you want really, butter powder, whey protein, and baking soda. I would say those are the 5. And if I can add in number 6, a little bit of white vinegar so that you can have that to increase the acidity of things when you use baking soda to make sure you don't get the baking soda flavor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really, really smart.
Yep.
Hey, really quick before I forget, do you want to tell folks what it is that we're doing tomorrow night for your backstage with Chris?
Yeah, so the weather was really nice. We had pulled out the little charcoal grill, and I made some burger patties and some sausages for us a couple of nights ago. I have a couple of big leftover sausages, and I thought, well, what can we do with this? So we're going to turn these into carnivore, and I may make a little ketovore pepper relish, so, don't freak out on me. But we're going to do, like, these carnivore sandwiches, and I'm going to show you guys a preview of a new carnivore bun bread recipe that I've been working with. which I'm not going to tell you much more about it, but I'm going to tell you it takes 2 minutes to make.
There you go.
It's going to be really cool. And you've tried the test batch.
I have. Oh, yes.
Yes.
It's so good.
Yes.
So good.
Yeah, so I'm thinking we're probably going to have to find a guest taste tester because Ash has already tasted it. But we are going to be doing that really soon, doing the test or doing the video of that. But I'm going to show you guys a preview of it and explain kind of what it is and why it matters and all these kinds of things. And we're gonna have a good time. So we're gonna make these sausage sandwiches. But it's a cool way though if you have. I mean, you could do this with beef or bacon or sausage. It really doesn't matter. Meat of whatever variety you have left over. And I'm gonna show you how to, as Auntie was looking for, how do you take something left over and upscale it, upcycle it so that it tastes really good. Auntie, this one will be for you, especially because if you're like, I just don't have the energy to cook right now. When this bread recipe comes out, and it's going to be a couple of weeks, but when this bread recipe comes out, you're probably going to go, well, I can do that.
Yes.
It's probably it is by far the easiest bread recipe I've ever created, and it's probably one of the easiest carnivore bread recipes that the internet has ever seen.
Yes.
I legitimately think, and I might be a little biased, but I think it's one of the best tasting that the internet has ever seen.
It's pretty good. I ain't gonna lie. I
mean,
usually I spit that stuff out.
Yeah,
and go,
so I made a little of this as some test batches. We went to church yesterday, and I gave them to our friend Pastor Bob because he and his mom do carnivore, maybe leaning in the ketovore-ish, direction for his mom from time to time, and they wanted a bread recipe that would be really simple. That Pastor Bob was like, I'm a terrible cook. I just want something I can do quick and easy. And so I've been working on this because of that, and it's fantastic. And it takes 2 minutes to make, and I gave them a couple of them, and we got a text message, a couple hours later after church, I guess.
Yeah.
He was like, oh my gosh, I just made a burger, and I just put it on this. This is amazing. You have no idea how happy I am. I'm so excited to see the video on this. So, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. I'm looking forward to all of that.
It's going to be good.
This is awesome. So Michael is here.
Yeah, hey Michael.
Lost 40 pounds through a combo of keto, carnivore, and OMAD. Heck yeah,
that
buddy.
Is amazing.
That's awesome.
There it goes. There it goes. A little light show. A little light show for Michael. That's awesome, man.
Little light show, man. That's awesome.
Love it.
Peggy says, had a stressful eve last Saturday to the point of getting some Haagen-Dazs. I paid for it that night and the next day with an upset tummy. Could use some good meal prep ideas, especially for those times.
Yeah.
I would say keto chow.
Keto chow. So get yourself an ice cream maker. You can get usually one fairly inexpensively, or you can get really nice ones. It's up to you. Get an ice cream maker, make keto chow, and turn it into ice cream.
Yeah.
And keep it in your freezer. Even if it's just, get like a couple of pint-sized containers and just keep a couple of pints of ice cream ready to go in there. And that way, if it's one of those days and you're like, I'm just losing it, pull it out and go for it.
Makes a big difference, y'all.
Is it ideal? Probably not. Should we eat our feelings? No. But that's a real human thing. We all fight with it. I have an issue with that. Right? I had a stressful day yesterday. I'm not going to go into why. It was a stressful day. We're good. I'm fine. But it was just one of those days it just got stressful on me, and I didn't want it to. And we had that salmon for dinner, and I was like, man, I could go out and I could go to a fast food place, or I could go to an ice cream shop, or I could go any of these places. And it's like, I'm thinking about all of that. I'm not hungry. And now I recognize that as my addiction and my eating the feelings and that kind of, tendency that I used to have. And so I don't do that anymore. But it's like I felt that come back where I wanted to lean back into that habit again because it was a stressful day. So I'm as guilty of it as anybody. So I totally get it. But,
having those
meal prep mindset. Set yourself up for success with the later you.
If you have the, keto chow in there has like a milkshake or an ice cream and that stuff is prepped. And especially if you know ahead of time you're going into a really stressful season of life.
Yeah.
Like, it would be better for you. Now, it may not be ideal. It's better for you to have the keto chow
Absolutely.
than go dive in a bowl of the Haagen-Dazs.
Yep.
Because then you're going to feel terrible for days later.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
we get it.
Absolutely.
My girl Terry's here. This is my friend.
Hi, Terry. What's up?
I love Terry. She says, dang, Ash, now I want a burger patty. Terry, I'm sorry. If you lived closer, I'd have Chris make you one.
That's right.
Janelle has a great tip.
Yeah.
She says, my tip, always have the butter mayo made up and in the fridge. It makes it easy to throw together egg salad, deviled eggs, tuna fish salad, chicken salad, etc.
Absolutely.
Yes,
great
you are not
idea.
not wrong.
Love it.
Jay Ennis is here. Again, another new name.
Hello, Jay Ennis.
I'm loving all the new people.
Yeah, this is great.
Says, yes, we buy meat in bulk and divide it into portions and freeze.
Yeah.
We do that monthly.
Absolutely.
It's awesome.
It's a great way to do it.
Yeah. Penny says, keto chow recipes are the exception to reheating, usually better as leftovers.
Yes, I totally agree. The keto chow, for whatever reason, just the flavors, the way those are made, when they sit, they just blend and they're just better.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
I love this. Auntie, she's calling me out here. She says, Ash, I don't cook. Also, Ash, I cook Mel's puppy food.
Yep.
And that's all I cook, and that's all you want me to cook.
Yep.
And I love this comment from Mr. Dustin at Keto Simple. He says, all of us live the life we need to live. Chris is one of my best friends. I think he's amazing in the kitchen. I've never made one of his recipes, but he's a champion for our community.
Yep, and there must be a part 2 somewhere to that.
There is, which somehow I'm not seeing it, but I'll go back and find that here in a second. Because now I'm living on Dustin's every word, and now I didn't realize there's a part 2.
There's
a sequel. Julie Morris is here. She says,
Julie.
Chris's recipes are absolutely amazing. Love to watch his mastering of foods.
Well, I appreciate that.
And Auntie says, Dr. Berry has said you can eat keto with hot dogs and mustard. I have some all beef hot dogs in there. I'm not supposed to do that.
I'm not opposed.
Not opposed. Sorry, not opposed to that. Well, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
I can read.
Yeah. No, Auntie, you're absolutely right. Dr. Berry talks about that all the time. You can do keto and carnivore and all of these things with the cheapest hot dogs and the cheapest canned meat and all of these things, and it's like, even if it's not the most ultimate and most ideal version of it, you can completely transform your health with hot dogs, bologna, and canned meats. Just make sure there's no sugar on the list. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Yeah.
It's a great.
Terry has another prep idea. Make some bone broth. You can sip on it while making your meal if you're starving.
Absolutely. It's a great idea. Bone broth is also a great ingredient to use in dishes, especially if you're making like gravies like I do.
Mm-hmm.
So just when you have bones, save up all your bones from all the meat you're buying, which is hopefully on the bone. Save up those bones, roast them, make bone broth. I've got a video on how to do that on my channel. Make some roasted bone broth, portion it out, keep it in your freezer.
Yes.
It's just ready to go.
That's good stuff. Linda A is here.
Hi, Linda.
She says, if you're having a hankering for a particular food that is not necessarily keto or carnivore, then these recipes are the way to go. Maybe not something that you would have all the time for every day.
Absolutely.
Also, great meal prep idea. Says, love to make a casserole to eat it for multiple days.
Yep. If you guys saw the live stream, I used leftover carnivore biscuits and turned it into a casserole, and that was fantastic.
Yeah, it was really good.
Great.
I loved it. CV Carmack says, rock and roll. Ash, close your eyes and pinch your nose. I'm about to eat some ground beef with diced deer liver mixed in. High quality, free nutrition, also soft-boiled eggs and bacon.
I love that. I would love that entire meal. Ash would love 2 out of those 4 things.
Yes. But I'm happy for you, and that is good, my friend. I take my liver supplements, and I call it a day.
Yeah.
But, yeah, hold on, just... Okay. Average keto carnivore guy says, I should not be watching. I am fasting today. Now I'm getting hungry.
I'm getting hungry, too.
Yes. Peggy says, you all are inspiring. You gave me a good plan for those very rare stress times without knowing. I can make a rare batch of ribeye or other meat, cut it cubes, and stash them in the freezer as I go, too.
Love it.
Awesome, Peggy. Well,
glad
we could help.
I think Peggy had commented that she did the steak bites recipe. I'm assuming.
I
think this is what she's talking about, is having the cubes ready to go. And then doing the Parmesan steak bites that way. I think she said it was like one of the best things she'd ever eaten, if I remember correctly what she said.
No, I love that.
Yeah, that's a great way to just jump in quickly.
I love this because I know the answer to this.
Yeah.
But Cookie Carter, great minds think alike. She says, have you considered a carnivore ice cream recipe?
Yeah, Cookie, that's a really great question. So I can totally do one. I've done some keto chow ice cream type stuff, and I have some other things I've done ice cream wise. If you're looking for carnivore ice cream, the best thing to do is go look at Dr. Kiltz, because he has a carnivore ice cream recipe that is very, very well known, and you can do it with sweeteners or without sweeteners. So you can totally do that. But I have now an ice cream maker, and there will be a video forthcoming in the future. It's going to take a little while, but we're going to get something done special for you guys. and there might be a special guest in that. So that's all I'm going to say. But we're
that's
working
all you're
on,
going to say?
We're working on some ideas. So.
Oh, I absolutely love
Yes.
that. Love that. Sorry, I want to go back to this for a second. I think my comment session jumped and I missed part 2 of what Dustin said. So he talked about all of us live the life we need to live. Chris is one of my best friends. I think he's amazing in the kitchen. I've never made one of his recipes, but he's a champion for our community. The second part says he gets eyes on what we do that probably wouldn't see us in the first place.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Dustin. And Dustin and I have talked about this at length. There are so many people that need help. And if we only have one way of looking at this whole thing and doing everything, and we stick to that being the only way it could ever be done, one, this isn't a religion, so there's no reason for us to think that we need to treat it like one. But second, there are people that even if the best thing for them to do would be meat, salt, and water, and I'm not saying that it is, I don't promote one way or the other specifically, but even if that was ideal, that is not a light switch thing. Like, we don't just flick that off and just go, okay, well, today I'm standard American diet, tomorrow I'm meat, salt, water, and I'm just going to be okay with that the rest of my life. That doesn't work. That does not work, and that attitude and approach is probably responsible for more people failing a carnivore diet than just about anything else. And, you know, I think there are people that really need that. I don't think everyone needs that. And for those who want to do that, great. For all of the rest of the billions of people that need help with their health, we've got to be able to make this attractive enough to them where they don't feel like it's crazy and they don't feel like they're giving everything up, so that they can transition one step at a time and move over into a better lifestyle.
Yeah.
Because you can't just flick that off and just act like you're an animal in a cage. You're not. You're not in a cage. You're living a real life in a real human world, surrounded by society, social situations, food culture, all of these things, the advertising, the habits, the conditioning of your brain of how you should think food is supposed to taste and how you would cook it and all these things. So it is a much bigger picture that I am looking at. I'm not looking at 5 people over here that I can say meat, salt, water, beat them over the head, and then they change and then go show everybody else. See, I was right. Look at these people. I'm not doing that. I am trying to change the world one plate at a time, and that is a huge uphill battle that takes tools and time and understanding for people who really struggle. And that doesn't even begin to dip into helping kids who are not on board with that whole let's go carnivore for our health thing, like the parents and grandparents, or people with autism who are really triggered by weird textures or foods that don't taste the same. And it's like there's an actual thing going on there that makes it harder for them to change how they eat. Or, I mean, older people who are just trying to enjoy the last part of their life, but they've lived 80, 90 years doing it the same way, and they're not going to go full on keto carnivore. There's so many people out there that deserve good health that don't just snap their fingers and change. And that's why what I do is so important to me, because there's so many people we can help.
Yes. Oh, no, absolutely. If I can just add on that really quick, then I think we'll take a few more questions and call it a day. But I really appreciate Dustin so much, and I love his heart, and he's honestly just one of the coolest dudes. If y'all do not follow Dustin at Keto Simple, please go and give him a follow.
Absolutely.
He's just a good guy with a good heart, and I appreciate him saying this. Just being really honest, like I was saying earlier, I think that I heard this one time, and it's a music thing, but I think it kind of applies to this too. Being an artist, right, and putting out music, it's kind of like the idea of, you hear people all the time say, oh, I don't like such and such artists. Like, people are like, oh, I don't like Bob Dylan. It's like, okay. So I heard it said, though, one time that instead of saying that you don't like somebody's music or you don't like their art or you don't like whatever, you just really have to realize that they don't make records for you. So I think when you're an artist or a creator like that, this is kind of what I mean by, like, I don't really care if you make a recipe or not. Because maybe we don't make recipes for you. Maybe we're not your people. Yeah. And that's totally okay. Yeah. Like, I still, like, if you're like, man, I don't have the time to do that. Or I only eat, just meat, salt, water. Like,
great. Awesome.
Like, I would like to be your friend, and I would like to encourage you. I would hope that you would still come in our community and, don't be a stranger and say hi, hey, hello. Yeah. But, like, I understand that, like, we do not make records. We do not make recipes for you. However, there is this other group of people who daily flood our inbox and messages talking about how these recipes have changed their lives, their children's lives, their grandchildren's life. We've given people tools when the holidays come to not go off the rails. You've helped me stay on track. You've helped me beat my cancer by helping me stay carnivore, when I didn't have these other options. So I just don't take that personally.
Yeah.
And I don't even really, I just don't understand a lot of the dogma a lot of the times, and I really don't even want to talk about it, but that's just how I view it. So I think everyone should just do the N=1 experiment. You figure out where you're at on the proper human diet spectrum, because it is a spectrum. You take the recipes if you want to, and you make them. And then you take those recipes and you tweak them to what it is that you need.
Right.
We are not a one-size-fits-all community. We are a spectrum, and we encourage each other where we're at. So, and having the meal prep idea, I think this is kind of that same thing, where you're like, okay, so what tools then, if I'm going to meal prep or do whatever, can I use on my proper human diet?
How does the meal prep mindset work for me, for my lifestyle?
Yes.
Because it's different than the person next door.
Very true. The other thing is, my husband's humble, and he doesn't brag on himself enough, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it because I can. But, Chris and I have been working really hard behind the scenes, and this is kind of, I think, what Dustin is hinting at on, Chris gets eyes on things that probably wouldn't get us, be seen in the first place. When we first started doing keto and carnivore a couple years ago, people thought we were nuts. And we are, but that's beside the point. That's the thing. We know we're nuts. We're crazy. We get that. But then they watched it change our lives. And then, with the YouTube channel, today alone, guys, I love that we have so many new people who are finding this way of eating, this way of living.
Yeah.
And they're joining in and they're here. And it makes my heart so happy to have all these people flooding in here. But, Chris gets fancy, and the way his brain works and how he comes up with stuff, it means that we could have a proper human diet chef on Good Morning America one day. Why can't Chris write a cookbook, and why can't it not even be in health and fitness? Why can't it be on the front cover, right? It's like with all the other cookbooks, the Gordon Ramsays and stuff. It's like, let's worry about getting people all over the world just healthy and happy, and making it seem to where, what if keto and carnivore wasn't a niche market? What if it was actually just
a major mainstream way of living?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how the world would change? So that's all I'm just saying is, Dustin, I appreciate you, brother, and it makes me happy, and thank you for noticing that and appreciating that, and I love that. This is also a great question right here. Solar Dare says, sorry if you answered already, but do you have any carnivore sauces, recipes, mayo, holidays, ranch, etc.?
Yep. So I have a spreadable butter mayo. Actually, there's 2 videos for the spreadable butter mayo. Please watch the one that I did later. Don't watch the first one from the beginning of the channel, because it is long, it is boring, the sound is terrible. It's awful. Watch the second one where I do the butter mayo, and then I show you how to do kind of the Miracle Whip vibe as well. So I have butter mayo. I have a video on turning my butter mayo into ranch. I have a blender hollandaise. I have Bermonte butter sauce and multiple variations of that. I have several kinds of gravy. I have all kinds of stuff. So if you guys want to know if I have something, go to YouTube, type in Chris Cooking Nashville, and then type in whatever dish it is you're looking for to see if I've done, because I think I'm the only Chris Cooking Nashville on YouTube, and even if I wasn't, I'm definitely the most well-known Chris Cooking Nashville on YouTube. And if I have a video for it, it'll pop up. You can also go check, I have a playlist of carnivore recipes and a playlist of keto recipes. Pretty much every recipe I do is on that keto playlist. If there are things in it that would make it, like veggies or that kind of stuff that would make it really not carnivore, I don't put it on the carnivore playlist. So everything is on the keto playlist. Things that specifically are carnivore or are easy to make carnivore are on the carnivore playlist. You can go look at all my recipes there. So they're all organized for you guys to go check out the channel and see if I have what you want. And if you don't see it anywhere and you've searched for it, feel free to shoot me a message and say, hey, have you ever thought about if you can do blah, 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 blah?
Yeah.
I'm always looking for ideas.
Give them an idea.
Yeah.
I love this. Diana247. I'm not carnivore. I try my best at keto. I enjoy your recipes and live chats to keep me on track meat-wise. I just love veggies. I have learned to like keto-friendly rather than the starchy veggies.
That's great. And if keto is what makes you happy and you like those veggies, go for it. It's a spectrum. As long as you feel good and you're getting the results you want, enjoy your veggies.
Yes, absolutely.
As long as they're not the starchy ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's an improvement. That's good. Cookie Carter says they like your warm-hearted, empathetic perspective towards your thoughts. You have really helped me to make changes to my family lifestyle with creativity. Trust me, is fun. It's enjoying. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you, Cookie. I'm so glad. We're just here to help as many people as we possibly can. I say all the time, my goal is to change the world one plate at a time, and I really believe that. Like there are days, Ash can tell you, there is not anything that makes me smile more than getting a message. The first one I ever got like this, but I get these kinds of messages all the time. The first one that I got, though, that just made me light up, I got a message from Mom that was when I had released my first pizza recipe. Way back in the day, it was the first pizza crust that I did, and she said, I have a son, he's autistic. This is why I bring up the autistic thing a lot, because I've gotten multiple messages from parents who have kids, or even grown kids that still live at home that are autistic. And they say, like this mom said, I have a son who's autistic, and if I try to feed him low carb, which would be good for his brain, the foods have weird textures and flavors, and without realizing that his brain is processing things differently, he'll taste it and he throws the plate across the room just as a reaction because it's wrong. That's the way his brain processes.
Right.
And so, she's like, I can't feed him low carb substitutes because he will not eat them. He throws them across the room because he doesn't process the same way you and I do. And she said, his favorite food is pizza. I made your pizza crust, and I just stood kind of around the corner of our kitchen watching him at the table, and I just crossed my fingers and just hoped that maybe he might eat some of this one and not throw it across the room. She said, I stood there and watched my son eat the entire low-carb pizza made with your pizza crust without ever questioning that it was just a normal pizza. He ate the whole thing, and for the first time in a very long time with his diet, I feel like I'm doing something good for my son, and I feel like I can be a better mom. I got that message, and it was the first one of that kind of message I got, and I've gotten hundreds since of all these kinds of things where these things help people. I got that message, and I think very quickly the understanding of what Chris Cooking Nashville was about came into focus. Because I had kind of started doing these things, doing recipes, and I knew I was trying to help people, but really getting validation of this is what you do and this is why you do it came to a real point of clarity in that moment when I got that message. And I realized there are people, whether it's a kid with autism or an elderly person who is 90 years deep into eating junk, like my grandpa was before he passed away, or people who just struggle with confidence, with their mental health, with their weight, with food addiction, there's so many things people can be struggling with that makes it hard for them to just switch to a keto or carnivore diet overnight and just do it, just get over it, learn to eat meat. Like, there's nothing wrong with the concept of working towards that. Like Dr. Barry always makes the comment, he's like, you got to grow up and learn to eat your liver. And I totally agree. We should all work on doing those things. But I also know that for people who are struggling to do those things, they're having a hard time doing it. And beating someone up because they're not doing a good job of it without giving them any tools to make it more successful doesn't help. And, it's funny. I remember someone made a comment one time on a video, and they said, they were talking about my recipes, that they totally did not get why I do what I do. And they were like, no one should be doing this, and this is, whatever. And these are the kinds of things that I try to stand against, because people like this lack the vision to understand why I'm doing this to help people. And it was like, Dr. Barry says you got to just learn to eat your meat and blah, blah, blah. Dr. Barry wouldn't approve of what you're doing and blah, 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 blah. And they kind of went on this long thing. And I think it's really funny because I've had several people try to use Dr. Barry's commentary as a way to basically prove that what I'm doing is not worthwhile. And what's really interesting is Dr. Barry says, grow up and learn to eat your liver, you got to learn to eat your meat, etc., etc. He's saying that because he's giving people a goal, and he's giving people the vision that you should be working towards this for your health and for your family's health. But Dr. Berry also knows that people need tools to be successful at this and values it to the point he and Nisha have asked me to come into the PhD group, and they've given me a space in there where they want me sharing my work with the tribe. I'm part of the PhD tribe. I have been for a long time, and they've asked me to come in there and do that. So I do some private stuff for Dr. Berry's group. And so it's like even Dr. Berry saying you got to learn to eat your meat, grow up and learn to eat your liver, etc., understands the value of these kinds of tools to help people. And because he's out there to try to help as many people as possible, has asked me to come into his group and do the same thing for people there that I do here. And I think it just goes to show it's like this is what it means to change lives, for us as creators to work together. And I mean, what a huge honor for Dr. Berry to have us come be, you know, a part of his group, and for Nisha to be working with us in there and all this kind of stuff. Like, we love and appreciate them so much when we get a chance to do that. But it's like, this is the kind of stuff where as creators we can all work together, use that whole spectrum, and try to help as many people around the world with all of the different issues they have as we can possibly reach. And that's why I do what I do, and why what I do is something I don't think anybody else does.
Yeah, absolutely. Dustin says the mashed potatoes and those Ritz crackers, shut the front door.
Yeah, those are good ones.
And Julie says that is totally amazing about the autistic mom chat. Love it.
Yes, thank you, Julie. It did my heart a lot of good.
Oh, absolutely. Auntie loves it so much.
Yes.
And I love this from Janelle. Eating this way is a huge change and learning curve, especially coming from low-fat, whole-grain vegetarian. You need to let go of your ideas and relearn.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's true. You know, it's very, very true.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, hey, I think that we are just about out of time for today. This has been awesome, though.
Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to say, babe, to folks before we head on
so
out?
we have the live stream tomorrow, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, making those sausage sandwiches and previewing for you guys the new carnivore bread recipe that we're developing. So that's going to be tomorrow night. Make sure to tune in. Bring your questions, especially if you have cooking questions. We'd love to see you there. Saturday, we have a great recipe video that'll be coming out. We're going to be going and filming that literally right after the live stream. I'm going downstairs to start cooking and filming. We are doing an upgraded version of my carnivore rice. If you guys didn't know, I have a couple of different versions of carnivore rice out there. I'm doing an upgraded version of it, and we're going to do a little special beef and rice kind of dish with it. It's going to be really tasty.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really good. So we're going to go do that after this. That'll be coming out on Saturday, so you guys make sure to get ready for that. If you haven't seen it yet, I did the cereal recipe this past Saturday, a couple of days ago. That's doing really well, and people are loving that. That's a lot of fun. If you got kids, grandkids, maybe you got big kids at heart, whatever, that kind of miss their cereal and you don't want them to go back to that sugary junk, this is a great way to just, you know, have a tool, put in a stopgap measure to try to help. So I think that's pretty much all we've got. Of course, get ready for Ash's podcast that she's working on at Ashfault, ASHPHALT, Ashfault, get it, Ashfault, at Ashfault Podcast over on Instagram, and we'll be putting it a bunch of different places, but we'll be announcing things you guys can go follow and listen. That's going to be a lot of fun. So I think that's going to be really good. And my band is linked down below, by the way. The band private community. Dustin's in there. Victor is in there. Pastor Bob is in there. A bunch of our chat members are all in there.
Yes.
A great place for additional content and support, especially if you're struggling and you need ideas and you need people's help and you need some support. Maybe you don't have supportive people in your life on keto and carnivore. The band is a great place to come get that. So click the link in the description box. Come join the band. We would love to see you in there, and we do some extra stuff. I actually have a couple of different ideas for new flavors of that cereal I'm going to be dropping in there this week. So
exciting.
That'll be a lot of fun. So we're just doing a bunch of cool stuff over there. We would love to see you guys over there. And we just have all kinds of cool things we're working on, including a cookbook. So more announcements will be coming in the future. So we're having a lot of fun and trying to keep everything together so we can change the world one plate at a time. But is that everything? Did I miss anything? Always got to double check with the boss over here.
I feel like you did a good job. I think you guys got it. So yeah, we're gonna let you guys go film. I did want to share though. We meant to say this at the beginning, but I forgot. We've been doing kind of a loose BBBE, kind of like BBBE plus coffee recipes.
Yes.
We've also been implementing a lot of really cool things, health wise, like working out, moving more, whatever. And I wanted to share. We were talking about it. This shirt that I'm wearing. I actually just had to buy this shirt. I wear probably a black t-shirt all the time. If you haven't noticed, it's like my uniform. We actually call it the musician uniform. If you're a musician, you wear black.
Yeah.
But man, I thought it was awesome. I haven't jumped on a scale since kind of switching things up, but I feel like I'm definitely losing weight, feeling really great.
Yeah.
And what we were talking about though is this shirt that I just bought. I actually had to buy a size down from what I used to wear. So super exciting, and I even feel like there's like clearly room in it and all. But yeah, so babe, we're getting skinny.
Yeah.
Look at us.
I don't know if we're getting skinny, but I'm doing something.
I don't know.
We're doing something.
But it just shows, like, you know, I don't want to jump on a scale yet. There's a lot of changes and all, but I just, you know, we're feeling good. We're having a good time. And it shows that you can, you know, each meet, love your life, and, you know, go down a shirt size.
Absolutely.
But I think that's it.
Awesome. Well, you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. We appreciate all of you. We're going to go. Purple Love and Nana, I see, put in Chris is buttoning his shirt.
Yeah.
No? Yes. Chris is buttoning his shirt and has actually extra room in his shirt. So.
And when he bought that, he could not button it up.
Yeah, I couldn't button several of the shirts that I can now button when we first got them. So.
I actually, look, we wear clothes until we can't. I can't.
Yeah.
It's working, guys.
It's a good reminder.
Good.
It's a good reminder to feel good. So
absolutely.
Well, guys, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate all of you. We're gonna go film a cool recipe video. So you guys make sure you hit the thumbs up, hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Put in the chat what you're going to do for your meal prep mindset so that maybe somebody else can get some ideas from you too.
Like that.
And you guys follow along because we got cool stuff coming, and this is just the beginning. We got a whole bunch of new things happening. So thank you guys for being here. We love every single one of you. This is Chris Cook in Nashville. My beautiful, lovely wife over here, Ash Taylor. You guys go to ashtaylor.com and for her Asphalt podcast as well.
Yes.
You guys make sure to eat your meat, love your life, think about that meal prep mindset, and we'll see you guys in the kitchen or here in the studio or someplace very soon.
Bye, everybody.